In 2014, an ISIS army stormed across the Syrian border and captured Mosul, the second largest city in Mesopotamia. Now, the jihadis' brutal reign of terror is finally headed for extinction.
I think this will be a turning point. ISIS will not finish, but at least they will not be able to represent a caliphate state in no part of the world.
Well before the fight to liberate Mosul began in mid-October 2016, military experts warned this could be a very bloody affair. Well, it's certainly been that, and a whole lot more. During the summer, Iraqi government troops and Kurdish Peshmerga fighters began cutting the ISIS supply lines from Syria in an effort to shape the battle space. This is urban warfare and close-quarters fighting amongst hundreds of thousands of hostage civilians being used as human shields by ISIS. It's being described as the most complex military operation since Saddam Hussein was toppled 13 years ago by a U.S.-led coalition. This time, Iraqi special forces are leading the fight.
We think we can defeat ISIS military-wise here, but ISIS will stay as a threat. ISIS is not only a military force, ISIS is a huge, big ideological force. Once has been defeated, that doesn't mean they are not coming back. So we need always to have support.
With a population of almost 1.7 million people, close to that of Philadelphia, ISIS has controlled this city for more than 2 years, terrorizing, murdering, and enslaving its citizens into the hell of the Islamic State.
We are fighting an enemy that is the enemy not only to the Kurds, not only to this region, but to the rest of the world. Many countries have not been ready to send ground troops to face this international terrorist organizations. In fact, we, as the Peshmergas, the Kurdish people, have been the most effective force on the ground to stop them, defeat them, and to break the myth of this organization.
The media has repeatedly described the forces here in Mosul as a U.S.-led coalition. But an Iraqi officer told us, other than very brave forward-air controllers and the special operators who work at night, the U.S. is leading by remote control, not on the battlefield. Another officer called the U.S. a phantom army. The battle for Mosul is setting the stage for a whole new arrangement in this part of the world, and perhaps even a new country called Kurdistan. This berm, pushed up by bulldozers, delineates Kurdistan this way from Iraq this way. ISIS still holds Mosul right over here, but brave Peshmerga fighters like this young man right here want to make sure everybody understands this is Kurdistan. They're going to defend it. That's Iraq. That's someone else's problem.
Right now, sir, we're on the new de facto border of Kurdistan and Iraq. And the Kurds fought for this, and they put this line up as they're fighting ISIS on both sides. From here, they went back and cleared all these villages, Faizaliya, Omar Kamshi, all the small towns in between, and finally Bashika. And then, once they had that secure, displaced people started fleeing to them here.
We've been to refugee camps with people from this war all over the world. There's a difference. These are recent refugees out of Mosul. These are families that have fled the carnage of what ISIS was subjecting them to. They have nothing. They've fled with the clothes on their back. They've come here, and they're relying on the goodwill of humanitarian organizations and the Kurdish people to rescue them.
Each box here has meals for 10 people or one family. If it's a big family, we give them 2 boxes. So they get at least one a day. That's survival rations. We've got enough here for about 500 people. We've got almost 500 people out there now.
Do these folks understand this is the result of Americans who care?
Yes, sir. I tell them this, sir. I say, first, I'm very sorry. I'm an American. There's been airstrikes that have killed your people. It's not intentional. We're really sorry. We're doing the best we can do. And this comes from people who love you and care about you. And so it's these other organizations that put things in our hands or make it available for us to give out. I've been trying to be an ambassador for Jesus, to share his love and help and hope. And it really took, for me, what I'd call a miracle that we got here.
And ISIS has been telling these refugees that if they come to this berm, that the Kurds would kill them.
Yes, sir. The Kurds would behead them. So when the first people came, sir, they were trembling. And when the Kurds went out and hugged them, it was so awesome. We said, get on your phones and tell your friends that no one's going to kill you. We got plenty of food and water and medicine. And they started coming, just like you saw.
It's pretty clear that ISIS does not have total control of the perimeter around Mosul.
No, sir.
Otherwise, people wouldn't be able to squirt out.
No, sir.
How many ISIS suicidal jihadis are inside Mosul?
I'd say over 5,000, sir.
As Iraqi forces push into the city, refugees are streaming out by the thousands, and ISIS fighters are taking advantage of the exodus. This is what happened when 13 suicidal ISIS jihadis attempted to infiltrate a refugee rescue point and are repelled by Peshmerga fighters. In the midst of the fight, a Peshmerga soldier is wounded by gunfire, and an ISIS jihadi detonates his suicide vest. The ISIS infiltrators were killed, and the Peshmerga soldiers and police resumed searching the endless stream of refugees as they approached the checkpoint. The brutal fight to liberate Mosul won't end anytime soon, and engagements like this will likely be repeated without warning for many weeks to come. This young girl was injured by a coalition airstrike nearly 2 weeks ago. She finally made her way out of Mosul and is now being evacuated thanks to the work of an NGO, a non-government organization called the Free Burma Rangers. Tell me how this girl got hurt.
Sir, on the 24th of October, right in the beginning of the Kurd offensive here, ISIS started counterattacking against the Kurds.
Yeah.
The Kurds were pinned down. They called in for an airstrike. Coalition air hit that family's house, and killed 4 of the family members and wounded her, Zaina, 15-year-old girl, cut her arm off, also damaged her eye, and wounded her father and younger brother, but killed her mother and 3 other siblings.
I saw you hand that technician in the ambulance $100. There's a wonderful story about a good Samaritan who gives money to take care of the injured man to the innkeeper, right? If there's more, come back and get me. Will they take that $100 and use it for the right purpose that you intended?
I've always seen them do that, sir. I've always seen them do it.
One of the important parts of this story, of this enormous humanitarian effort to save the lives of those fleeing ISIS in Mosul, is the fact that not 1 cent of all the help that's coming, not 1 penny of the payroll for the Peshmerga comes from the Baghdad government. It's all being done by the provisional government in Kurdistan. That's an important point for the American people who've got to understand who our real friends are out here. These red flags alongside this road are an indication of what the big challenge is here. They'll say this area has been secured, meaning there are no ISIS troops left in it, but it's not cleared. Secured but not cleared means there are tens of thousands of these improvised explosive devices, some of which have been found and marked, but many more have yet to be found.
As we are going, we have to speed up because the building, what you see, and the houses on the left-hand side are not clear still. There's a lot of snipers, there's a lot of activities going on. So we have to speed up, high speed, and just when we make it over there, we are safe.
This neighborhood, Gojali, was liberated just yesterday. Liberated, yes, but cleared, no. There's improvised explosive devices all over the place, and in the buildings just a few hundred yards away, sniper fire from the ISIS troops that are still here. Most of them intend to die while they're here. While we were waiting to go through this checkpoint, a convoy showed up, this long convoy of what appear to be mostly commercial vehicles. In fact, this is one of the provisional military units, a Shiite militia headed by Iranians from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Quds Force. There are among the fighters on these vehicles Shiite militiamen from Iraq, Hezbollah from Lebanon, and of course, Revolutionary Guard Corps officers and non-commissioned officers. This is a dramatic change for what's been happening inside Mosul, because this is now totally different than anybody expected. ISIS is a sophisticated enemy. In Mosul, they use remotely piloted aircraft, drones, to guide the drivers of suicide trucks to their targets. We moved to within a kilometer of the front, where Iraqi special forces are engaged in hellish house-to-house fighting, and there found 2 Americans who'd become indispensable to saving lives on the battlefield, both military and civilian. What were this guy's injuries?
Fragmentation from a mortar that landed just outside his door. A small bit frag in his chest, a little bit in his throat. His legs are pretty torn up. Both legs are broken. Arterial bleeds on the left, venous on the right.
Had you guys been to a war before this one?
Yeah, I'm actually a former Marine myself, sir.
Once a Marine.
Yeah, I went into Afghan twice before this.
So what brought you back here?
This.
Yeah.
We knew that this was a priority starting last year, starting with Peshmerga and civilians and those fights. The first time we worked with the NGO was actually the Guer offensive in August, and we've been going since then.
Where do the med supplies come from that you guys are using so much of out here?
We've bought a lot of supplies ourselves. We've gotten 2 huge donations, one from Rescue Essentials, and the second one we're going to pick up in a few days from Tactical Medical Solutions. And that's all the really high-end gear that's saving lives.
In our military, as you guys know, we consider it to be the golden half hour between the time of the injury and the time you get to real medical attention, not just field medicine.
Yeah.
What have these guys got?
They're pretty close to us. That's kind of our goal here, is to get as close to the front line as possible without putting ourselves in too much danger. We've been at both extreme ends of that. We've been too far away where patients die before they get to us, and we've been far too close where Peshmerga actually retreated behind our CCP at one point. So we've found a pretty good balance where we are right now, and hopefully giving these guys a better chance to make it to the hospital, and I think we've done that.
Probably 40% of our patients are civilians. Today, 80%.
Yeah, it goes up and down.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had today with him 23 wounded civilians and 4 dead. That was before noon.
Bad morning. The Obama administration has limited the number of U.S. troops in Iraq to less than 6,000. And with the exception of special operations units, all the rest are restricted to advise and assist missions, but not combat. Colonel, you've been here, and what's the assignment for your battalion in this brigade?
So we're partnered with the Iraqi Counterterrorism Service on an advise and assist mission. We're giving advice on integration of coalition intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. We're helping them plan fires from coalition or Iraqi assets. The assist then is the follow-on, which is the actual provision of those capabilities, sometimes provision of logistic support and things like that.
Right behind us is a church. Mosul was once a very cosmopolitan city.
Yeah, spent many years there.
It had Christians, it had Jews, it had Turks, Assyrian Christians, probably that church, right? St. George's was Assyrian
It's
Christian.
Catholic, yes.
What's happened to that?
Like you can see, I mean, it's been burned out, been desecrated. You know, it got reported up as an IED making facility. So they took the church from its protected status and used that, you know, as a place to store or construct IEDs. Well over 20 IEDs found in that facility.
When you look at what's happened here, is it possible to put the city back together?
Very much so. I don't know if you saw it on the way in. The Nineveh Provincial Council came in here about 10 days ago. They reset up shop. About a week ago, we started seeing front-end loaders and dump trucks. You know, so we sent a patrol out to figure out what's going on, and it was a street sweeping crew. So they got a company, they got 100+ folks out here every day, sweeping the roads, policing up trash. They're getting ready to bring it back. They're working power, they're working electricity, water, all those things. The city will be back.
There is a new administration coming to Washington, D.C. What is the most important thing that you want them to know about what needs to be done to end this war and to support the people of Kurdistan?
Well, let me first, ask the new administration to remember the sacrifices that we have made, not only for us, but for the rest of the world, for the principles and values that American people stand for. We believe in democracy, we believe in freedom, we believe in human rights, we believe in the respect for other religions, we believe for coexistence of different ethnic or religious people. And this is what Kurdistan is all about. So America's support for us is essential.
Never again the region would be the same after what ISIS has done. A successful conclusion of Mosul liberation operation is an opportunity for the new administration to prevent, actually, on the one hand, any regional confrontations here. Secondly, to show American leadership, you see, to defeat ISIS and meant to be a force of restraint for any other expansionist. And here Kurdistan is the ideal place to exhibit that leadership.
I believed always when I was very young in the struggle of my people. I shared in the struggle. I became a young Peshmerga. Because of the struggle of my people, I became a refugee. But I believed when I was in the mountain and when I was in Europe as a refugee, I believed in this cause. And I came back to serve. I'm a servant of this country and a servant of the cause of the Kurds. We are not only fighting for ourselves, but we are fighting also for the people of the world. Our children and grandchildren, they will be proud of us because we served our people.
We've always been saying that Kurds have no friends but the mountains. We hope that from now on we can say that we have our mountains and also Americans as our friends.
The battle for Mosul is proving to be much more difficult and taking far longer than most people expected. It's now clear America's newly elected president and his administration will need to demonstrate leadership uncommon to his predecessor in order to achieve a positive outcome for the United States, Iraq, and our best friends here in Kurdistan. With Islamic State affiliates now in more than 30 countries, the liberation of Mosul is just the beginning of a much longer fight to wipe ISIS off the face of the earth. From Kurdistan, I'm Oliver North for Frontlines on NRATV.